What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel, and I am back with yet another album review, and today I am talking about a band I've always seen the name, but never listened to, which is kind of a theme on this channel. I am talking about the latest offering from Nightfall, Children of Eve. This also came out on May 2nd, this time on Season of Mist Records, and yeah, Nightfall is a band I've seen the name a lot online when it comes to lists of metal bands and such, particularly in gothic metal. And yeah, this is a Greek gothic metal band, but I do feel like there's more to them than just gothic metal, especially on this album. Honestly, I think the other monikers that would fit this would be death metal and melodic death metal, so it's like a hybrid of old school death metal, melodic death metal, and gothic metal, so it's a very strange mix, but yet they somehow make it work. And right off the rip, opening with the song I Hate, you get these like ambient sounds and then like whispers, and it's like basically saying all the song titles, which I thought was pretty cool. And then it just goes right into chugging riffs, but with some like atonal melodies on top, and pretty much peppered in on about a good 50% of this album is big death metal D-beat stomps, like these D-beat stompers that just like punch you right in the taint. And then here you get like a lumbering groove that comes along to kind of accent a little more of the death metal aspect that's going on here. But here on this track, and then even throughout the entire album, when you get heavier riffs, you get these like cool little melodic tags on top of these riffs to kind of add a little bit more dynamic and add a little bit of, I guess, like mellow death, but also some of that gothic feeling going on. And then all of a sudden, big blast beats and dive bombs before you get into this like really cool tremolo melody before you get into a lead melody, which leads me to talking about lead work, which you really mainly get leads on the first half of the album, and then they just kind of cut them out for the rest of the album, but you don't need a solo on every song. And really the leads that do follow this track, like The Cannibal, Lurking, and Inside My Head, all have pretty cool leads, especially Inside My Head, where they're harmonized solos going on. Speaking of The Cannibal, that song feels very much a straight-up death metal song, like blast beats and tremolos that definitely feel like old-school death metal. Like, I would say bands like definitely Morbid Angel, but I could also argue bands like Death, but with blast beats on top. Like, the Florida sound, essentially, is what I get. And then you get some really cool groove and riffs on top, and of course, D-beats. But it does turn melodic, like, again, like mellow death, or even like later era death, or sometimes it gets into those gothic melodies. And then the song Lurking kind of starts off a bit strange. It almost starts off with like more of like a rock vibe, like the beat is more of a rock beat, and then you get like these big power chord riffs before it transitions into like some pretty cool sweet drum work and machine gun riffs, which leads into more melody, more D-beats, and even some double time. Like, there are moments, especially in the second half of the album, where you get some like death metal double time stomps. Like, also on Inside My Head you get a double time stomp, but with Inside My Head you get more atonal melodies, but also some doom. Like, there's a little bit of doom going on in that song, as well as some like faint tremolos. Suddenly the tempo shift to the double time, and then it gets borderline thrash metal a little bit, and even some triplet chugs, again, to add a little more heft. And then you get into the closer of the first half, Seeking Revenge, which starts off with like more synths and wailing female vocals, and then it suddenly turns into a straight-up melodic death metal song, and it gallops along pretty nicely. Then we get into the song for the Expelled Ones, which starts off a little bit on the doomier side, but then it grooves, and you get some melody on top, again, some thrashy beats, and death metal just coming in full sway. And then The Traders of Anathema. I think Anathema betrayed a lot of their fans with their recent sound direction, which, I'll be honest, I don't really have an opinion about that. I just have not listened to that band very much, but I digress. But this song, once again, feels like a straight-up death metal song. Tremolos, blasts, thrashy beats, and double-time stompers. It's just well-written meat and potatoes death metal with a good amount of, like, salt and pepper to kind of bring out the flavor. And then the song with Outlandish Desire to Disobey, which makes me wonder if that's a BDSM reference? Who knows? But it starts off with more guitar melody and female vocals, again, to bring out more of a gothic vibe. And you get some, like, off-time grooves and atonal melodies coming back, and it almost borders on prog a little bit with how lavish the song gets, even if you do get some, like, blasts and thrash beats here and there. Then we get into Makhara of the Deceiver, somber melodies, like maybe the most somber song on the entire album. Then it goes into this big lumbering groove, but then suddenly the mood shifts from feeling somber to just downright angry. Like, it's aggressive at times. Like, some of the more aggressive parts show up here, but it also gets epic towards the end, which it's kind of like this contrast going on. Like, at one time goes from being aggressive to being epic, and then the closer, Christian Svengali, starts off with this, like, marching rhythm, like we're about to go into battle, and the bass is really carrying the mood, and then it grooves pretty damn well. There's great melody once again, more D-beat stomps showing up, and it almost feels rather triumphant, this song. And then you get, like, lumbering rhythms with tremolos on top, and it ends on a rather beautiful note with the piano coming into play. Production-wise, I thought it was a pretty solid production. It was mixed and mastered by Jacob Hansen, who, his resume is endless. But really, when it comes down to the music, like, I was expecting more of the gothic side, but the gothic stuff I did like, but what I really liked was all of the death metal moments that show up here. Like, death metal's really the key sound on this album, with touches of melodic death metal. Really, the only things I have to complain about would be some of the transitions, especially on songs like with Outlandish Desire to Disobey and the Makhara of the Deceiver, might have been a little bit too sharp. Even the closer, Christian Svengali, had some rather sharp transitions that didn't quite stick the landing for me. But other than that, I thought this album was pretty damn killer for the most part. I am going to give this a 4 out of 5. I thought this was great stuff overall, and definitely not what I was expecting out of this band, but what I got was pretty damn cool. So if you are a fan of Nightfall, you'll probably check this out, but for other bands to compare, if you're into, oh man, like, I guess like Moonspell, I would say maybe even like Morbid Angel to a degree, and maybe even a little bit of bands like Insomnium, check this out. But of course, those are just my opinions. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. But until next time, thank you for watching. Keep your horns high and your dreams wet.